I knew before that some people specifically bullied omegas, but I never thought it would happen to me one day. When I came back from outside all wet again, I opened the door and saw my roommate, Daniel. He is an alpha and also the school bully. I'm very afraid of him, so when I saw him in the dormitory, I almost turned around and went out, but the sticky feeling of the clothes on my body forced me to stop. Daniel didn't seem to care much about my presence. He even took off his clothes in front of me. I instinctively avoided looking at his body. As a result, he directly turned around and looked at me. "Why are you wet again?" I stammered. "I accidentally fell into the lake just now." Daniel walked over. The natural oppression of an alpha made me lower my head and step back. But there was a door behind me. There was nowhere to hide even if I wanted to. "Have you mentioned changing dormitories to the teacher?" Hearing Daniel's words, I was momentarily speechless. Of course I mentioned it, but there has been no response. Indeed, all the Omega dormitories are full now, and they all seem to have quite a bit of malice towards me. They are all unwilling to accept me. So things just didn't move forward. Who would have thought I'd suddenly shift from a beta to an omega one day? It wasn't a problem living with these alphas before. Now look at this. I'm completely vulnerable to them, although they probably don't care about me anyway. Daniel patted my face with his hand, forcing me to look up at him. "I'm talking to you. I told you, but there are no empty dorms left now, so I can't do anything about it." Daniel narrowed his eyes, as if checking whether what I said was true. Good heavens. I'm the one who really wants to move out now, right? I'm terrified of Daniel every day, afraid that one day he might get annoyed with me and punch me to death. With the huge size difference between us, he really could. Suddenly Daniel leaned in close, scaring me into shrinking back, but then he pushed me forcefully against him. "Don't be ridiculous. If I stayed right there like that, wouldn't I look stupid? Did your scent leak out?" I touched the gland at the back of my neck. "It's not hot, and the suppressor bracelet is working fine, so how could that be?" "No, then why do you smell like milk?" I froze. The stuff those people spilled earlier had been rinsed with some water, but the milky scent was still there. My clothes were all sticky and damp. "No, I accidentally spilled some milk on myself. Besides, my scent isn't actually like milk. What does it smell like then?" The pear with scent lingered on my tongue for a moment before I forcibly swallowed it down. Why was I telling him so much? It had nothing to do with him anyway. "It's none of your business. Step aside. I need to go take a shower." I tugged at my clothes. They were already uncomfortable, and now they felt even worse. I just wanted to throw them all off right then and there. Daniel rarely failed to get angry at my words, but this time he slowly straightened up, crossing his arms. Those pale eyes made me feel unusually anxious. "Were you bullied?" I froze, instinctively lying. "How could that be?" "I already told you, I just fell into the lake by accident. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I'm going to take a shower." After saying that, I slipped past Daniel. Then I dug through my closet to find my clothes and headed toward the bathroom. Before I could close the door, I heard Daniel's cold voice. "If you get into a fight and can't win, go find some backup instead of letting people beat you up like an idiot." I shut the door, blocking Daniel's voice outside. Actually, when it comes to the reasons why I was picked on by those people, he is half responsible. If it weren't for Daniel's reputation at school wasn't exactly great, and he could be pretty intimidating, but he had a really handsome face. Plus, those Omegas had this inexplicable infatuation with him. Back when I was a beta, they even asked me to deliver love letters for them. I was in a very different position back then. I posed no threat to them whatsoever. After all, how could an alpha ever be interested in a beta? But who knew things would go wrong halfway through? I turned into an Omega, and because I hadn't moved out of the dorms, they were terrified that I'd try to seduce their idol. I don't know when the bullying started, but by the time I realized it, they had already become increasingly aggressive. But what they didn't realize was, I'm actually scared of Daniel too. Plus, he's constantly pushing me to move out. There's no way he could like me. After taking a shower and changing into clean clothes, I looked at myself in the mirror. This had to stop. The school hadn't found a new dorm for me yet, but their recent actions were getting more and more aggressive. I could hardly imagine how I would survive safely until the day I finally moved out. Daniel's words from just a moment ago echoed in my ears. Right, I can't beat them myself, but maybe I could find someone who could protect me. Talk to your roommate. Think about it. Everyone's targeting you because of Daniel. If he were the one protecting you, those people would be furious. I thought about it, and he did seem right, but Daniel clearly didn't like me at first glance. Even if I went to him proactively, I doubt he'd be any help to me anyway. You don't get it. Who says he has to make the first move? You can just pretend you're close with him. As long as everyone else thinks you two are tight, that's all that matters. It was such profound advice, yet somehow, I felt like I understood it. So basically, I just needed to let people misunderstand the situation. I get it now. This time, I'll definitely pull this off. After saying goodbye to my friend, I headed back to the dorms. Daniel happened to be leaving with a basketball under his arm. An idea popped into my head, and I quickly called out to him. Are you gonna play basketball? Are you blind? If I'm holding a basketball, do you think I'm going to class or something? Can I go with you? Can I watch your clothes and bring water for you? I looked at Daniel with anticipation. The man walked slowly toward me. Oliver, what are you plotting? I swallowed hard. No, it's just that my mom told me to spend more time with classmates, so I wanted to hang out with you guys. But since I can't play basketball, I can only bring water and watch your belongings. I don't know if Daniel believed me or not, but at least I believed myself. What a perfect excuse. Obviously, Daniel ultimately chose to trust me despite his doubts, so I happily followed him to the basketball court. To be honest, even though I've been at this school for a long time, I had never visited the school's basketball court before. I just didn't have much of a natural talent for sports anyway. Once on the court, I wasn't sure if I was playing with the ball or if the ball was hitting me. When we arrived at the basketball court, the other guys were staring at us with puzzled expressions, but they soon returned to normal. I didn't dwell on it too much. After all, if I saw Daniel with an Omega one day, I would probably have the same look on my face. Daniel, why did you bring him here? Don't tell me you want him to play basketball with us. A boy walked over, casting a hostile glance in my direction. I knew who this was. Daniel's good friend, Henry. They spent the most time together. If they hadn't been assigned to different dorms, they could have been together 24 hours a day. I also knew that if I wanted Daniel to help me, I couldn't offend the people around him. Otherwise, if someone badmouthed me behind my back, all my efforts would be for nothing. So I stepped forward voluntarily, wearing a flattering smile. No, I just wanted to come watch everyone play basketball and help bring water and look after clothes. After all, there was that incident of stolen clothes before, wasn't there? It was indeed a real incident. However, the stolen clothes weren't anyone else's. They belonged to Daniel, but in the end, they checked the surveillance footage and found him. After giving him a lesson, the clothes worth tens of thousands were just thrown away directly. Henry's suspicious gaze swept over me. Daniel didn't say anything, so I couldn't really say much either, but his attitude toward me wasn't exactly warm. You'd better be careful. If I find out you're up to anything else, you'll know the consequences. I nodded. My mood sank a bit. I turned around and caught Daniel's gaze. My heart skipped a beat. I almost slipped up. I had the feeling he wasn't too pleased just now, but that feeling faded quickly. He took off his jacket and tossed it straight into my arms. Hold on to this tight. If it gets stolen again, you'll see what happens. All right. Here he goes with the threats. Yet I really can't say much about it. I held the jacket, sat beside him, and watched them play. No wonder Daniel is so popular. He's really handsome, and even among alphas, he's particularly capable. There's basically no one else who can compare. It's just that his temper is a bit short. If he were a little more patient, I feel like he'd be even more popular. Maybe my gaze was a bit too bold. During the game, Daniel even glanced at me, carried a hint of warning. I quickly shifted my gaze to someone else. We're out here playing basketball. Why should I worry about being looked at? Other Omegas were staring way more openly than I was, so why single me out for a warning? When the halftime break came, I rushed over with water in hand. But guess who happened to walk right up? Daniel. After hesitating for a while, I didn't dare offer the water to him myself. Everyone knows he's quite particular about cleanliness. So I kept moving, intending to head toward the others instead. Unexpectedly, Daniel suddenly reached out and wrapped his arm around my neck. Where do you think you're going? Can't you see I'm here? My steps froze abruptly, and I tried to pull away from Daniel's grip. But this guy was simply too strong. I couldn't break free at all and ended up being dragged along with him. Once we reached the spot where I had been sitting, Daniel finally let go of my neck. Listen up, I brought you here. I didn't tell you to go and fetch water for them, so don't think about trying to curry favor with anyone else. If running a quick errand like that counts as currying favor, then it's way too easy to do. Oh, got it. Besides, what if someone steals my clothes while you're gone getting water? Who would be that fast? Why not? Who said Oliver was coming to watch my clothes for me? If you don't want to, just go back now. I whipped my head around to look at Daniel, but I couldn't bring myself to say anything about leaving. I could only reluctantly agree. Daniel didn't say anything else, but his whole demeanor was heavy with low spirits. When he went back out for the second half, his play seemed to become more aggressive. It made the opposing team feel quite uncomfortable. When the game finally ended, everyone was cheering for Daniel. But among the crowd, our eyes met instantly. My heart was beating a bit fast, so I avoided his gaze. But today's mission could be considered a success. From then on, whenever there was class, I would sit next to Daniel. After all, no one dared to take the seat beside him anyway. He didn't seem to care who was sitting next to him. During meals, I would also follow him along. Of course, I didn't dare to sit at the same table as him directly, but I would find a spot nearby and sit there. This went on for a while. The people who had been giving me trouble didn't really try anything anymore. It was probably because I stuck close to Daniel every day, so they couldn't find an opportunity to bother me. But regardless of which possibility it was, I was the one benefiting from it. However, lately Daniel's gaze towards me seemed a bit off. For instance, when I was resting my head on the table, he would turn his head to look at me. Even during meals, he would suddenly turn around. It got to the point where, even in the dorm after I finished showering, I could see him sitting at his desk just staring at me. His look was like he had spotted some kind of prey. He didn't mention the matter of me moving out anymore. And even when other roommates tried to get close to me, he'd somehow appear out of nowhere. Then he would step right between us. It got really annoying sometimes. Daniel, can't you stop standing between us? Alphas and omegas are supposed to keep their distance. But aren't you an alpha? Daniel would usually ruffle my hair roughly at times like this. Then he'd say that things were different between us. I feel like something's wrong. What's wrong with that? He hasn't done anything to you. If he really tried to do something, do you think I'd still be able to run? You make a good point, Deso. Have you finalized the arrangements for your dorm? Although there's no concrete update yet, but it should be soon. Living in an alpha's dorm, I've been on edge all day long. I didn't dare take off the suppression bracelet. It wasn't until every day when I was alone in the dorm, just before preparing to shower, that I finally took it off. After finishing my shower and just pulling on my pants, before I had time to put on any other clothes, the bathroom door was suddenly pushed open. A strong scent of bitter coffee instantly filled the entire bathroom. In almost an instant, my pheromones began to become unstable. Daniel, get out. Just as I felt my instincts kicking in under the weight of his scent, Daniel suddenly tossed a suppressor bracelet at me. Why did you take it off? Didn't you realize your heat cycle was approaching? I hesitated for a moment, but now wasn't the time for explanations. I quickly put on the bracelet and pulled my clothes back on. I shrank into the farthest corner of the room. Please leave first, or even with this suppressor, I won't be able to control my scent. His pheromones were overwhelming. If it weren't for the fact that class had just ended and no one was around, everyone on this floor would have been driven crazy by now. Daniel looked at me deeply, his expression so intense I couldn't tell if it was because of the pheromones or something else entirely. Once he had left, I turned on the bathroom's ventilation system. Otherwise, staying in there any longer would have driven me mad. Thankfully, the ventilation system was working well. The scent didn't take long to fade a bit. With my heart still racing, I touched my wristband. It really looked like I wouldn't be able to take it off in the future unless I moved out. I couldn't figure out how Daniel had such a coincidence of returning right then. Didn't he have classes today? After all, only after I had adjusted my state did I step out hesitantly. Daniel was sitting in his seat, with suppressors on the desk that must have been used recently. Although I felt this matter wasn't entirely my fault, but I still decided to apologize. At least I couldn't let all the effort I'd put in recently go to waste. Sorry, I didn't know you would be back at this time, and I didn't feel my heat was coming on soon either. Daniel's gaze fell coldly on me. His muscles were well defined, visible even through his short sleeves. He looked like someone who could take a person down with a single punch. I shrank back in fear. You don't even realize your heat is coming on. Can't you smell the pheromones on yourself? Or are you doing this on purpose? Who are you trying to tempt? Daniel's 4 questions left me completely stunned. Then I realized what he meant, and my eyes instantly filled with tears. I had just transitioned into an omega. How could I possibly know what my heat cycle would feel like after being a beta for so many years? As for an omega's heat, I had only heard others talk about it and never experienced it myself. I did feel a bit uncomfortable during this time, but I didn't realize it was related to my heat cycle. I admit that I've been quite oblivious and neglectful regarding these matters. When did I ever set out to seduce anyone? If I were really trying to do that, I wouldn't even bother wearing a suppression bracelet. You're bullying me. I turned around, suddenly feeling a bit contemptuous of my own eloquence. Even in a situation like this, I could only come up with something so weak. There was absolutely no intimidation factor at all. After forcing back my tears, I turned around again. If I wanted to seduce people, hooks would have been bitten long ago. What do you think is the real reason those omegas target me? It's just jealousy over my looks. If I were really trying to seduce anyone, would I have endured up until now? I took step after step closer to Daniel. Even if I wanted to attract someone, it wouldn't be you. I don't see anyone like you as an alpha worth my time, so there's no need for you to worry about that. Relax. Watching Daniel's expression grow increasingly dark, I felt a sense of satisfaction deep down, as if I were desperately trying to seduce him. But after saying those words, I started to regret it, not just in terms of size, but in strength as well. I definitely had the upper hand on him, so running away was the best option now. I left Daniel behind without a second thought. I simply grabbed my phone and ran off. You're really something, truly a character. My friend gave me a thumbs up. But have you thought about this? After saying those things, will Daniel still let you stay by his side? Of course I had thought about that. He definitely wouldn't. Who would continue to tolerate an omega who belittles and looks down on them? Especially since he is Daniel. Whatever, it's done. Besides, they don't know about our argument. As long as Daniel doesn't explicitly say we've fallen out, no one will figure it out. Plus, I'm moving dorms soon anyway. Daniel indeed didn't directly mention our argument. In fact, what he did was far more terrifying than that, because it seemed like he was coaxing me. But then again, Daniel has never taken a loss from childhood to adulthood. Even when apologizing, his attitude remained haughty and condescending. There was no sign of any genuine remorse at all. I actually thought our relationship was completely over. But now, it seems I'm the one holding all the cards. If I don't make the most of this opportunity, all my patience during these past few days would have been in vain. The more he tried to coax me, the less I paid attention to him. This situation has given me quite a sense of superiority lately. But this situation also caused me some trouble. For example, are you dating Daniel? Henry specifically called me out while Daniel was away. Hearing him say that quickly shook my head. How could I possibly be dating Daniel? Are you kidding me? Given how the two of you have been acting lately, who would believe that nothing is going on? I do. Still, I tried to explain why things between me and Daniel had turned out this way recently. But after I finished speaking, I felt like the more I explained, the less clear it became. There's definitely something between you two. When did Daniel become someone who knows how to sweet-talk people? If there really was nothing going on, I wouldn't be called Henry. Just as I was about to continue explaining, I caught a glimpse of Daniel returning out of the corner of my eye. I hurried back into the classroom. Only after sitting down did I realize that I probably didn't need to be so panicked in the first place. Henry's words also made me realize that things couldn't continue like this. Otherwise, who knows what others would think of us. But just as I was preparing to tell Daniel that I forgave him, the things this guy did completely shocked me. In the middle of the night, while I was half asleep, I suddenly felt someone lift my bed curtain and climb in. Before I could scream, he covered my mouth with his hand. Sure, it's me. Daniel, does this guy have absolutely no sense of boundaries? You always ignore me and refuse to talk to me. I was wrong about what happened that day. I shouldn't have spoken to you like that. Just treat me like a jerk and don't hold it against me. Okay, Daniel, are you trying to be cute with me? As soon as those words left my mouth, both of us froze stiff. I wanted to slap myself right then and there. I can't believe I actually said that out loud. Is this really the time to be talking about such things? The most important thing right now is to kick this guy out of my bed. An alpha coming to an omega's bed. What exactly is he thinking? Get off my bed first. We'll talk about everything else tomorrow. I kept my voice low so I wouldn't wake up the other roommates, but with us in our current state, anyone would suspect something was going on. But if Daniel were actually this obedient, he wouldn't be Daniel. As expected, the guy pretended not to hear a word. He just lay there next to me. The bed wasn't big, so squeezing in two people was tight, and our bodies were pressed right up against each other. Fortunately, my previous heat cycle had already passed. Otherwise, being this close would have led to some kind of incident. If you don't give me an answer tonight, I'm not leaving anyway. We can both fit in the bed just fine. But if they catch us when we wake up tomorrow, you'll have to explain it yourself. I gritted my teeth, wanting nothing more than to kick him straight out of my bed. But I couldn't. Not right now. At least not yet. I forgave you a long time ago. The reason I haven't been talking to you lately is because don't you think our relationship has become a bit too intimate? I only meant it to make those people think that Daniel and I have a close bond. I never intended to actually become his partner. Besides, with Daniel's background and personality, would he really be interested in someone like me? Don't be ridiculous. It's better to nip these things in the bud early on. Otherwise, they could spiral out of control before we know it. In the end, I'd be the one left to face the consequences anyway. Is that so? How come I don't feel it? I clenched my back teeth even tighter. Before saying that, could you please remove your hand from my wrist? We're all adults now. You know these little gestures can lead to misunderstandings. Surely you must realize that. I guess I really misjudged the situation. There are people who simply don't get it. Isn't it because we're friends? I always thought we were close, so isn't some physical contact normal between good friends? Isn't that how you and Henry interact as well? That makes perfect sense. Indeed, when Daniel is with Henry, there's plenty of physical contact between them. There are also some people at school. They really ship the two of them. Of course, this was all a controversial pairing anyway. No one dared to show off in front of Daniel. Okay, so I really misunderstood things. I won't do it again, and I accept your apology too. I knew back then that you didn't mean it on purpose. Daniel let out a soft chuckle, then rubbed my head. He pressed something cold into my hand. Felt like a chain. It's an anklet, my apology gift for you. Thanks. So can you please leave now? If he doesn't leave soon, I'm really going to lose my temper. Promise me that you'll greet me proactively when you wake up tomorrow morning. If you ignore me, I won't go. Okay, I will definitely greet you. Are you happy now? Go to sleep early. I'm heading back. It wasn't until Daniel returned to his own bed that I finally felt like I could breathe again. I really can't stay with this person for too long. Otherwise, I feel like my heart is going to jump out of my chest. With Daniel's late-night sneak attack still on my mind, even if I wanted to pretend otherwise, there was just no way I could. But after we made up, I realized that while it used to be me following Daniel everywhere, now it seems he takes me along wherever he goes. It's like I've become his personal accessory. Although I have complained about this behavior many times, it doesn't seem to work at all. After all, Daniel is a dictator when it comes to decisions. He doesn't listen to opinions. He just insists on bringing me along no matter what. But it didn't really affect me much, and I even got quite a few benefits in daily life. So I just let him do as he pleased. The bullying I used to suffer from never happened again. However, I could tell that those omegas were still resentful toward me. I heard them say more than once that when Daniel lost interest in me, they would come to deal with me then. But what if he gets tired of me? Does that mean I can't look for someone else? Plus, from the way Daniel is acting now, it doesn't seem like he's lost interest. Besides, we aren't in a real relationship anyway, so it's hardly the case of him getting bored or tired of me. However, exceptions always exist. It's like how every novel has a male lead with his white moonlight or cinnabar mole, and Daniel's white moonlight just suddenly burst into our lives. An omega who was more handsome than me, gentle, and incredibly good at coaxing people. I heard he came to our school as an exchange student. It was also said that their families were of similar standing and they had been neighbors since childhood. Before he even arrived, Daniel's family had already given him strict instructions to take good care of him. At first, I thought it wasn't a big deal. After all, having a white moonlight is pretty normal. Besides our friendship, there wasn't anything else between Daniel and me. It seemed like there was nothing more to it. Good friends wouldn't get upset over something like this. But that was just what I thought before meeting Sebastian. Only after seeing him in person did I realize it was all my own self-deception. They were such a perfect match. Daniel pulled me over to introduce me to Sebastian. This is my roommate from the dorm, and also my good friend, Oliver. Sebastian's gaze swept over me. Omega. I paused for a moment, then nodded. Then I saw Sebastian playfully pat Daniel's arm. Daniel, you lied to me. Didn't your school say alphas and omegas can live together? You told me it wasn't allowed. Are you doing this on purpose? Daniel dodged the playful hit, laughing as he replied, it's just a coincidence. Oliver only manifested his omega nature after arriving at school. Since we hadn't found him a new room yet, he's been staying here. I nodded along with Daniel's explanation. He explained it so clearly. He must be afraid of causing a misunderstanding. Daniel tried to pull me in for dinner with Sebastian as well. But if I went, I wouldn't be able to eat anything tonight anyway. Just then, I spotted my friend. I quickly waved hello and ran over without caring about Daniel's attempts to stop me. As I left, I could even hear Sebastian's complaints following behind. Who was that just now? My friend glanced back at the direction we had come from, asking with some curiosity. How would I know? He's a new exchange student. Or maybe Daniel's close friend. Or perhaps someone with ambiguous feelings. When he said that, a slight discomfort stirred in my chest, but I quickly calmed myself down. It's only natural to feel uneasy when a close friend has an omega by their side. I wasn't the only one feeling this way. I have no idea whether he's someone I'm close with, my fiancé, or even a lost love from the past. It really doesn't matter to me. My friend smiled teasingly and pointed at me. You're acting strange. Are you falling for him? I was taken aback for a moment, but I quickly composed myself. I pushed my friend's hand away. No way. Why would I like someone like Daniel? You know I don't have a type for alphas like him. As I waited for my friend's response, his expression suddenly stiffened. I immediately understood what was happening. Turning around, I saw Daniel standing right behind me. His face looked grim, and there stood Sebastian beside him, looking quite pleased with the situation. He shot me a provocative glance. Then he tugged at Daniel's sleeve and said, I thought Brother Hachi was popular everywhere. It seems that's not always the case. You treat him as a friend, but he doesn't necessarily see you as one. Instinctively, I wanted to explain that disliking someone isn't the same as hating them. But when our eyes met, I couldn't say a word. The words to explain circled my tongue again and again. In the end, I said nothing at all and walked away with my friend. Why didn't you explain just now? We've been friends for so many years. It was obvious what he was saying wasn't true. What could I possibly explain? Someone like him, would he really be interested in my family background? Besides, I can see there's definitely something going on between him and Sebastian. I just want to have a quiet college life. I don't want to get involved in those wealthy families' disputes. After all, a hint of loneliness lingered in my eyes. I smiled bitterly and said, isn't some of the hurt I've been through lately caused by Daniel as well? It seemed I really had to push forward with moving out. After saying goodbye to my friend, I sat outside for a while longer before heading back to the dorm. The other roommates weren't around. Daniel was there, though, but clearly, he had no intention of acknowledging me. That was fine with me. It saved me the trouble of adjusting my mood to talk to him. After I got out of the shower, Daniel hadn't changed his posture much from before. I sat on my own bed. I sent a message to the teacher, pressing again for an update on the new dorm room. Daniel's voice broke the sudden silence in the room. Do you have nothing you want to explain to me? What is there for me to explain? Oh, about what happened today. But really, is there anything left to explain? Haven't I already made everything clear? There's nothing to explain. Daniel's expression instantly fractured. He lost that calm demeanor of his just moments ago. He looked as if I had really gotten under his skin. Fine, Oliver. You're so strong-willed. If you've got any spine, don't ever try to explain yourself again in your entire life. Hearing Daniel's words, I felt my temper rise too. No explanation, then. There's nothing to explain anyway. And before you say that to me, why didn't you think about yourself first? Daniel abruptly stood up from his chair. The sound of the legs scraping against the floor only made me more irritable. but there was nothing I could say anyway. What did I do? I'm an honest person. What's there to explain? You said we were friends, but you were just here with some ulterior motive, right? Even though you didn't like me, you still insisted on sticking around. You've really worked hard for that. Daniel's tone carried a hint of sarcasm. Hearing those words, I felt even worse. If it weren't for him, would I have gone out of my way to get close to him? If the sudden change hadn't happened, would I be in this situation now? So it all comes down to blaming myself. Suddenly, I lost the desire to keep arguing with Daniel. Yes, I had bad intentions. I know it's my fault. I'll move out as soon as possible, and you don't need to be my friend anymore. After saying that, I went straight to bed, pulled the curtain shut, and closed myself off from everyone. It's fine. I'll just comfort myself. Once I move out, everything will be better, as long as I'm away from Daniel. After that day, my relationship with Daniel hit rock bottom. The fallout was obvious to anyone looking on. The school teachers were still passing the buck, but I couldn't take it anymore. I went to their office every day until they finally promised a deadline. That's when I stopped bothering them. Sebastian has been sticking to Daniel's side all day. Their relationship seems pretty good. There are even rumors at school that they were engaged when they were kids. Sebastian showed up now just to build a bond with Daniel, and then get married right after graduation. First, not many people were talking about it, but once they realized neither of them was coming out to deny it, the gossip only got worse. By the time the news reached me, it was already announced that they were planning to hold an engagement ceremony next month. I tightened my grip on the chopsticks in my hand. It's great, really. They're a good match for each other. Besides, it has nothing to do with me anyway. You're forcing that smile. If you really like him, just go after him. I don't think Daniel cares about family backgrounds or status. You're probably overthinking it. Never mind. Who said I liked him? I don't. You're just deceiving yourself here. Wait until the invitation reaches your hands. Then you'll be the one crying. How could that possibly happen? After all, they would never send an invitation to me. Daniel must hate me right now. He probably thinks I played with his feelings or deceived him emotionally. From the very beginning, he had only ever seen me as a good friend. And yet, this good friend harbored secret feelings for him. I couldn't even accept that about myself. Some things are better left known only to me. But just as I was looking forward to moving out of the dorm, those people from before tracked me down again. As I was being dragged away, I caught sight of Daniel's back. I instinctively wanted to call out to him, but those people covered my mouth. With your kind of status, you still think about getting close to Daniel. Did you specifically try to seduce him before? You never expected his true love would come back, did you? Someone like you isn't worthy of standing by his side at all. When I was just dragged in, my back hit the wall. Now, I'm only sweating cold sweat from the pain, but I still refused to bow my head. Relying on others for rescue is worse than saving myself. I still didn't believe these people could actually do anything to me. Standing up unsteadily, I looked at the person in front of me. So what? Even if I wanted to get close to him, what does that have to do with you? Are you Sebastian's little follower? The man's expression suddenly turned angry. What are you talking nonsense about? I just looked down on your kind. If it weren't for you living in Daniel's dorm, do you think you'd be able to act like this now? His gaze scanned over me. I wonder if you used some trick back at the start of the term to hide that you're an omega, and only now have you been exposed. The man stepped closer. He patted my face. I dodged and tried to fight back, but someone nearby quickly stepped in with good timing. He grabbed my hands. Bottom line, Daniel has no interest in someone like you. You're disgusting and useless, with zero skills, and completely worthless to him. I glared at him fiercely. Did I choose to become an omega? If I had a choice, I would have rather stayed a beta forever. Only people like him would think being an omega is such a good thing. That's still better than you. At least he has the guts to take initiative when he likes someone. But you won't even dare to speak up and end up handing your crush over to someone else. How pathetic. His gaze suddenly stopped as it landed on the suppressor ring on my wrist. He reached out to grab it. I struggled violently. My heats had been acting up recently, so I basically had to wear the suppressor ring every day. Otherwise, I might not have held on for long. It was clear that these people knew exactly what was going on. They held my wrists tightly, preventing me from struggling free. I could only watch helplessly as he took it off, tossed it on the ground, and stomped on it. Since you love chasing after alphas so much, go ahead and have your fill. But remember to find a private place. I don't want to see some shameless person marking anyone they can find right out in the open. Michael, should we go find a few alphas? No need. Just make sure he's well taken care of, so he can't even crawl out of this place. Yes. First, when the punches started landing on me, I could still barely hold out, but unfortunately, there were just too many of them. Lying on the ground with my head covered, in that moment, I truly hated why I had been marked as an Omega. Wouldn't it be better to just stay a Beta forever? It wasn't until they had left that I slowly sat up from the ground. Every part of my body ached, but none of that was the real issue, because I could feel the onset of my heat. My scent was spreading. If there happened to be any alphas outside, I'd really be in danger. I couldn't stay here anymore. I forced myself to stand up, but I quickly collapsed back down. It would have been so much better if I had stopped Daniel back then. It would have been so much better if we had never met in the first place. Just as I was losing consciousness, the door burst open, and I thought I saw Daniel. He rushed over and carefully picked me up in his arms. Oliver, don't fall asleep. It was Daniel, but his voice sounded like he was on the verge of tears. I blinked my eyes open, barely able to focus. Feeling wronged, I rested against him. It's all your fault. I wish I had never met you. If it weren't for meeting you, I would just be an ordinary person. Daniel lifted me up into his arms. I'll accept the first part, but not the second. You had to meet me. That lunatic. I was in this state, and yet, he still had the nerve to argue with me. I'm in heat, and I need an injection. It hurts so much. Got it. Don't sleep. I'll take you to the hospital right away. I didn't want to sleep, but it hurt too much, and I was so sleepy. They bullied me. You have to help me get revenge. Alright, I'll catch them one by one. I saw you just now, but you didn't notice me. It won't happen again. Be good. Don't talk anymore. I'll take you to the hospital right away. Daniel's embrace was warm, and I could smell his pheromones. Maybe he released them on purpose to comfort me, but either way, it made me feel a bit better. Daniel, they say you're getting engaged. Is that true? I asked this in a very low voice, not knowing if Daniel actually heard me or if he answered. When I woke up again, it was already nighttime. My body still hurt, but after receiving treatment, it wasn't as unbearable as before. I must have been given an inhibitor, because the heat in my body had subsided. My gland wasn't bothering me as much either. Turning my head, I saw Daniel beside me. He was asleep, leaning over the side of the bed. Just as I was about to move my hand, he woke up. Seeing that I was awake, he looked genuinely delighted and quickly called for the doctor. It might be because this is your first heat cycle after differentiating, so it tends to come and go. Please pay more attention during this time. You can keep wearing the inhibitor ring, and an alpha can release some pheromones to help soothe you. I was just about to say that we weren't in a relationship like that when I heard Daniel quickly agree. The words I wanted to say were swallowed back down. There are no other issues. You can be discharged from the hospital tomorrow. Okay, thank you, doctor. After seeing the doctor out, only the two of us remained in the ward. Once the door was closed, the atmosphere became even more awkward. Thinking about my accusations against Daniel while I was still unconscious made me feel quite ashamed. I must have had my head beaten in at that time. To think I actually said those kinds of things. I am truly, thanks. If it weren't for you today, if it hadn't been for me, none of this would have happened. You should have told me sooner. Daniel sat in the chair, his face tightly wound with tension. He was clearly unhappy. I bit my lip and said, "It's not entirely your fault, though you did play a part in it. Who asked for so many suitors anyway, and some of them were so extreme. Oliver, is it still hurting?" Daniel suddenly became gentle, which was a bit unfamiliar to me. It's okay now. It doesn't hurt as much as before. I've already caught those people, and they'll face the consequences accordingly. Rest assured, they won't be able to bother you anymore. I nodded. In fact, I was indeed careless this time, but it will be fine soon. This won't happen again. I'm moving out of the dorm soon, so there will be no more incidents like this. Daniel was stunned after hearing my words. He only spoke up after a long pause. Yuri moving out. Daniel's words caught me off guard. Hadn't he always wanted me to leave, especially after what I said to him that day? Could he really tolerate me staying in the dorm any longer? Exactly. Weren't you the one urging me to move out as quickly as possible? If I don't leave, who knows what other issues might arise. Plus, given my secondary gender, it really isn't suitable for me to continue living there. After all, Daniel wasn't the only alpha in the dorm. It's just that the other roommates rarely stayed there anyway, so I didn't need to worry much about them. But Daniel was a different matter. As long as I'm in the dorm, he's definitely there too. It makes everything a bit inconvenient for me to do anything. Plus, he dislikes me. And there's the Omega he likes as well. I'm not someone who insists on clinging to others. Oh, got it. Did the teacher find you a new dorm? I scratched my head awkwardly. Not yet, but he gave me a deadline. He said he'd definitely help me find one. Maybe it was just my imagination, but I felt like I saw the corner of Daniel's mouth twitching up slightly. But when I tried to look closer, there wasn't anything there. Exactly. Anyway, you haven't found a new place yet either, so stay here for now. Once your new dorm is ready, I'll help you move out. Oh, alright then. Maybe it's partly because I got hurt and beaten up this time due to Daniel that he's being so attentive toward me. So he was extra caring toward me. When I was discharged from the hospital, he was just one step away from carrying me back to the dorm. If I hadn't insisted on walking there myself, he really might have done that. After all, after being rejected by me, he looked so regretful. I was a bit speechless. Didn't he know about the rule that men shouldn't touch each other too intimately? Besides, he was a man with an engagement. As for that question I asked him yesterday at the end, I'm still not sure if he answered it. I don't know if he even heard me, but the question was out there anyway. I felt much more relieved, as if I had finally let everything weighing on my mind spill out. Then my whole body just relaxed. After going through all this, things finally became clear to me. If I can't have it, then let go is best. Forcing a relationship never ends well in the end. It's good to step back now while I haven't gotten too deep yet. Take off your clothes. Let me apply the medicine. I stared at Daniel in stunned silence, my body tensing up. Was he still treating me like a beta? How could he say something like that so casually? No need. I can do it myself. Saying that, I reached out to take the medicine from Daniel's hand, but he frowned and blocked me away. If you can reach it yourself, go ahead. Hurry up. I promise it won't hurt. I won't. Oliver, don't make me do this myself. A threat? A blatant one. And yet, I actually found myself afraid. Hesitantly taking off my clothes, I exposed my back. Just do my back. I'll handle the rest. Daniel let out a soft chuckle. Do you take me for some kind of creep? He had a point, didn't he, after all? Daniel might not look gentle, but his touch was actually quite careful when applying the medicine. However, some bruises needed to be massaged out. Even with the gentlest touch, it still hurt a bit here and there. At first I could hold back, but eventually I couldn't take it anymore. Don't move around. It'll be over soon. Just bear with the pain. Otherwise, it'll heal slower. I understand. Suddenly, Daniel pressed on my waist. The soreness made me let out a stifled groan. Daniel's hand froze in place. It wasn't until a while later that I heard his voice, gritted with frustration. Stop making noise. I wanted to argue that it was his fault for pressing on my waist, but sensing the change in his tone, I realized how ambiguous my previous sound had been. So I immediately played dumb and stayed silent, no matter how much it hurt afterward. Once the medicine was applied, I immediately burrowed into my own covers, shielding my body. Daniel hadn't left yet. Seeing my move, he raised his eyebrow in amusement. Are you really that afraid of me? I muttered. It's not like I'm afraid of you. It's about keeping a proper distance from someone who is already taken. Oliver, when did I become taken? Are you spreading rumors about me? My eyes widened in shock. What did I mean by saying he was spreading rumors? It was clearly everyone else outside who were talking about this. Aren't you and Sebastian in that kind of relationship? You're practically engaged, and yet you're still lying to me here. What a jerk. Daniel's smile vanished instantly. Without that smile, he was genuinely a bit intimidating. I was convinced that what I said was completely fine, so I didn't shrink back either. There is absolutely nothing going on between me and Sebastian, and the engagement story you mentioned is pure nonsense. Tell me who started spreading these rumors. I want to track them down and teach them a lesson. In that case, there would be quite a few people to deal with. After all, many people at school were talking about this matter. Really? When have I, Daniel, ever told a lie? Then why do you and Sebastian seem so close? Don't you like him? Do we look close? When he sat next to me, there was still an empty seat between us. I didn't like hearing that at all. Didn't he hold onto Sebastian's clothes during our last argument? Could it have been my imagination? Well, Daniel stared at me for a long time without saying anything. Anyway, I already threw that shirt away. I didn't react in the moment back then, and if you hadn't said that, would I have acted like that? What did I say? You said you could never like me, no matter who you liked. It was just something I said casually, and who knew he would hear it? Really, as expected, you shouldn't speak ill of others behind their backs. But even if I kept pushing the issue today, it wouldn't make much difference. I'm gonna sleep now. We can talk about other things next time. Good night. After saying that, I pulled up the bed curtain immediately, cutting off any possibility of further conversation. However, lying in bed, I felt my heart beating a bit fast. So everything said by the people outside was fake? Then, forget it. Forget it. Even without Sebastian, there was no chance between him and me anyway. Stop overthinking it. Time to sleep. During this time while I was healing, I didn't push for the dorm move either. Maybe part of me just wanted to stay here a little longer. Anyway, I didn't bring it up, but Daniel was like a different person entirely. He was even more attentive than when I used to pursue him, as if he was terrified I'd fall or get hurt again. I went from finding it uncomfortable at first to getting used to it now. Those who had bullied me were also expelled, and since some of their families did business with Daniel's family, that was the end of it for them too. Without those ringleaders around, the others didn't really seem to mind me so much either, so my life started getting better. I just went to class and back to the dorm as usual, and went to the hospital for checkups. Half a month passed in a blink, and my injuries had mostly healed up by then. Now I really had to move out. Just as I was wondering how to tell Daniel about it, he came back from playing basketball outside. I was so lost in thought that I didn't even notice what I was doing until he blocked me against the wall outside the bathroom, holding my head. That's when I snapped out of it. Daniel was standing at the doorway with his arms crossed, looking at me with amusement. Oliver, do you like me? Even when I'm taking a shower, are you coming in? Sure enough, sometimes people's minds aren't quite clear. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done such a silly thing as nodding directly. It's not impossible. By the time I realized and tried to run, Daniel had already grabbed my hand and pulled me straight into the bathroom. The door slammed shut behind me with a bang, pinning me against it. What did you just say? Say it again. I was just joking. If you didn't hear anything, let's pretend nothing happened. I wanted to get out, but the bathroom was so small that if Daniel refused to let go, I had absolutely no room to move. I heard you. I looked up at him and opened my mouth to explain, but before I could speak, his lips covered mine, completely short-circuiting my brain. I like you too. I've liked you since when you were a beta, but it felt like you never liked me back, and you always complained about me to that beta friend of yours, so I never dared to say anything. You like me? That's hard to believe. If I didn't like you, how could I have allowed you so close? You know I don't let people I dislike stay by my side. That made perfect sense. Also, why didn't you tell me about that incident from the start? How was I supposed to say it? I couldn't just blurt out, your admirer bullied me, so please help me bully him back. At that time, our relationship wasn't really close anyway. If I had said that, I would have been the crazy one. Still, it wasn't really his fault either. After all, no one can know everything. Daniel certainly couldn't be expected to. Move out with me, we won't live in the dorms anymore. I haven't even agreed to that yet. Why are you so rushed? I don't want you living with another alpha. That said, I still hadn't given my answer, since our relationship needed some careful consideration. But there wasn't much time to think about it anyway, because Daniel didn't even give me the chance. In the end, we moved out of our original dorm but stayed on campus. We just applied for a different room. Money really does solve problems. That night, Daniel climbed onto my bed again after persistently pestering me. How did you come up with the idea of getting close to me in the first place? Well, only you could handle those people. Plus, since we're roommates, it's much easier to pull off. Not bad. You know to come to your man when you're in trouble. Next time that happens, remember to tell me right away. Daniel, you're so crude. Where is that? Am I not your man? You go away. I don't want someone like you. There's no escaping now. I got you stuck on me. Get a grip.